Hey guys, this is part 2 of our beginner series on equalization or EQ. Remember, this video is for beginners, so let's fire it up. So in this video, we're gonna take a look at bell curves, shelves, notch filters, low pass filters, and high pass filters. So to get started, here we have the EQ graph. And the way this is read is from left to right. You have the lows on your left and the high frequency range on your right. So down here we have 20 hertz and you see 10 kilohertz here, 10K. And then from top to bottom, we're dealing with volume. So you have negative 18 dB, negative 12, negative 6, 0. We're starting to get loud. And then you have your plus 6, plus 12, plus 18. So as you go up, the volume gets louder, and as you go down, the volume gets lower. So left to right, up and down, we got it all covered. So when you play this, you're getting a spectrum readout of frequency activity as far as what are the loud frequencies happening right now. So if you notice, when that snare drum hits, you see a specific set of frequencies that are getting lit up. And this is basically showing you the frequency activity for this specific sound. And then you can pick out certain frequencies that you might want to accentuate, or you may want to hide and pull out of the mix. So this is the basics of the frequency spectrum graph and how to read it and kind of how it reacts. I would always advise getting an EQ, a parametric EQ that has a graphical feedback, some kind of spectrum analyzer that's showing you what activity is going on with the sound that you're trying to EQ. So using EQ with an analyzer, it'll really help you to pinpoint frequencies that you're trying to find. Okay, now let's look at some frequency curves as far as when you're trying to cut and boost. So if you notice right here, this is at 65 hertz. I have it set to what they call a bell curve. So if I boost at the 65 hertz range with a bell curve, if you notice, it's still affecting a very wide area, but the main frequency here at 65 hertz is what's getting boosted the most. And as you go down the line, there's a fall off, but there's still a wide range of this low end frequency that will be boosted. And that'll give you a more drastic effect. Whether you're boosting or cutting, you're going to be doing a more drastic cut as far as the frequency range is concerned. So the opposite of that would be a notch filter, which, as you can see visually, it would give you a more precise cut or boosting. But notch filters are usually used more to cut a frequency than to boost. The next type we have here is high pass. And what that does is it cuts all the low frequencies and lets the high frequencies pass. So let's hear what that sounds like. And then the opposite of that would be a low pass, where you're only letting the low frequencies pass and you're cutting out all the highs. Then you have a low shelf, which will basically boost or attenuate anything to the left of the node that you are adjusting. And then you can affect the slope, how drastic that transition is from low to high or high to low. And then you have a high shelf, which just does the opposite. So now if I raise this, it'll be boosting everything to the right, which are just the highs. High shelf, low shelf. And once again, you can adjust how drastic the curve is, that transition between the high area and the low area, based on the frequency response that you are going for when using high shelves and low shelves. So yeah, that's it for the different types of curves. So like I said in the first video, in this area would be your low range frequency, here would be the mid range frequencies, and over here will be your high range frequencies. So if we start analyzing this first sound, we have a hi-hat. And if you notice, you see all the energy right over here, starting about the 6K range. And for these hi-hats, the majority of the energy is over here. So if we pull this up, turn these frequencies up, they will get louder, and you can also turn them down. If you pull this down over here, you won't hear any difference on the sound. It will not affect the sound because none of the main important frequencies of this sound dwell in this low to mid-range frequency. You'd have to start coming over here where all the main frequency and all the energy of the sound dwells. So most hi-hats tend to live around this high frequency range. Let's go ahead and look at some low range frequencies. So if you notice, the richness and the energy is mainly right around here for this sound. So if I go ahead and raise the gain over here, boost this frequency range, you will hear those low end frequencies become louder, much more apparent. And of course the opposite will happen if I do the opposite thing, which is to turn down the gain, the volume of this frequency range. If I try to make adjustments on this high area and the high mid range, you notice you're hearing like a lot of noise, hissing, like a lot of high end noise on this sample, which really doesn't sound too good. But what I would do if I was using this sound is I would bring all of this down over here and eliminate that, just clean the sound up. And that's one of the great things about EQing. And what I've created here is actually a low pass filter where I'm letting all the low sound pass through and none of the highs. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for checking it out. Share this video with someone you know may need it. And as always, you'll see me in the next video.